Hi, I'm Karen from the Buckeye Library, and I hope today to show you how to make a nice plant hanger out of macrame cord. So if you have a special someone for Mother's Day you want to make something for, this might be something you could do. So to start, let me show you what you're going to be making. This is our plant macrame hanger. You put a pot, and this is a pot that I purchased at Mark's, under $2. You put a pot in, add a nice plant, and you've got a beautiful gift for Mother's Day that's not hard to make. So let's get started. So first of all, what do we need to make this? You're going to need some macrame cord. I bought this at Joann Fabrics. It was not expensive, and it made, you could probably make 5 plant hangers from one pack of the cord. Make sure when you purchase the cord that whatever you get is not super flimsy. You can see this isn't real heavy. They call it macrame cord. It's 3 millimeters. If you get something too flimsy, you'll end up with a plant hanger that's just really more flimsy than what you're going to want. Can do it, but not quite as nice. So you need macrame cord. I put beads in my plant hanger. So I bought these beads at Joann Fabrics. Make sure when you purchase beads that you get ones with the hole big enough in there that you'd be able to put some of that cord, a couple threads of that cord through the hole. So it can't be a tiny hole in the beads. So you need the beads. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need a pot. Like I said, I purchased this at Mark's under $2. You might have a pot even at home that you could use. And then you're going to need some kind of a pretty plant. I happen to have this one at home. We do have a seed share program right now at the library where if you had some potting soil, we've got some free seeds you could pick up. And if you have seeds you want to share with us, you could bring them in and share them, leave them at the library. But you're welcome to come in and get some seeds. And that is really all you need to make this plant hanger. So our first step is to cut our cord. So you can take your macrame cord, and if you want to make one the size of mine, you're going to cut 7 feet of macrame cord, one piece. So I've already done that. This is 7 feet of macrame cord. Now I need 3 more the same. So I just lined it up with the macrame cord and I cut 3 more the same. So I've already got that done. You take your, now you've got 4 strands because you cut 3 more from that first 7 feet. So you've got a total of 4 cords, each one 7 feet long. You're going to line them up. So I put my ends together, line them up. They should be about the same length because I measured them, did them together. The first step is to fold these in half. So I have them lined up. Come to about the middle. Check, is this the middle? Not quite the middle. Get it to the middle. And my first knot is going to be to make the loop at the top of the plant hanger. So that's going to be where the middle is. Take that middle. Below that middle, I'm going to hold those all together so I would have a total of 8 cords in my hand. And the knot that we use throughout this whole plant hanger is just an overhead knot. So I take all my cords together, make a loop, and then pull all the cords together through, which makes one big knot, which I want toward the top. I push it kind of toward the top to make it go up just a little bit. And I want it to look nice. I don't like those pieces kind of hanging out. Just pull on all the cords to tighten it up. And now we have a loop that's the top of our macrame holder with our first knot. So our next step is to make 4 knots, all the same distance from this knot. Those 4 knots are each going to hold 2 of these strings. So lay your whole macrame, all your cords down on a table. I'm going to move my supply sign over. And I want to divide the 8 strands that I have into 2. So there'll be 4 sets of 2. So take 2 that are closest to each other, set them aside. Take the next 2, set them here. Take the next 2, here, and the last 2. And our next step is to make our next row of knots. So we're going to take our ruler and measure down 12 inches from that knot that we made. So I measured down 12 inches. And with 2 of the strings, I measured down 12 inches. I'm going to make another overhand knot right there. So just loop it, pull it through. And I now have our first knot. Next, I want to make that same knot on each of these sets of 2 at the same distance away from the main knot. So measure about 12 inches away, put the knot in. And I want it about the same distance, so I kind of line it up. You can kind of move that knot up and down just a little bit. And I'm going to want to put 2 more in the last 2 sets of strings. So I've done that on an example already for us. It needs 1 more knot. And you can see we've got our loop at the top, and we've got 4 knots about the same distance from our top knot. Now when I made my macrame plant holder, I wanted beads on mine. So our next step is to put beads on. So you take your beads with the big hole in them. Take one of your sets that has the knot. You're just going to slide that bead right on. Put the 2 strands of macrame cord through that bead. Pull it through, slide it up to the knot. The knot's going to stop it, but I need another knot then to keep it in place. So I put another knot right below that bead. Okay? And you'll end up with this. And you do the same thing for the other 3 knots you have. So I have one already done to that point. You can see there's my top, there's my beads. And now we're ready to make our next group of knots. So we lay our cord down again, our plant holder, spread out a little bit those 2 by 2s with the beads. So our next set of knots, we want to make it about the distance that the height of your pot you're using is, plus about 1 inch or so. So if you look at my pot and I measure it and it's like, oh gosh, it's about 6 inches, I'm going to make it about 6.5, 7 inches or so. So I'm going to measure from my bead around 7, anywhere between 6.5, 7 inches. And at that point, I'm going to make a knot. Oops, but I'm not doing that right because I don't want that knot on the same string, those same 2 together that have a bead. What I want to do is take 1 string from 1 bead, match it up with the closest string next to it. So I've got 1 string from 2 different strands, and I'm going to measure 7 inches on my bead, and I'm going to put an overhead knot there. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with 2 strands, one from the bead I just used, the bead next to it, and the string closest. Measure about 7 inches or so, and I'm going to make an overhead knot. Okay. Do the same thing again, 2 strings, 2 closest to each other, about 7 inches down or so, overhead knot. Okay, so now what I have are 3 knots, but I still have 2 strings that don't have a knot on each side, each end. I want to put those 2 together. So I'm going to pull those together, measure about 7 inches down, and make a knot. Okay. Now our last step in our project is to make a knot at the bottom to close everything off. So you take your ruler and measure about 4.5 inches down or so from the last knot you had put on there. You're gonna put an overhead knot there. And now you've made your own macrame plant hanger. Let's see if our pot will fit in there. Gotta spread things apart. I'm gonna untangle our knots a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna open this up a little bit. And you can see we've made a beautiful macrame plant holder. Straightened out a little bit. It just needs straightened out a little bit, and you can put your pretty plant in there. And I hope you'll give it a try at making a pretty plant holder for someone special in your life for Mother's Day. Have a great day.